Water, the most abundant resource, and yet the most scarce. Hi, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Sustainable Development Goal number 6, but I'm going to take a bit of a different approach than the last 5. Because there is such a robust portal, a data portal, pertaining to SDG 6, which is maintaining water and sanitation. I decided to start with introducing you to the UN Water Portal. And so this is an important resource. And but before that, it's important to understand. I mean, 70% of the Earth is comprised of water, and yet there have been several cities that have had literally countdowns, trying to just make sure that they have enough water before the city runs out. Johannesburg, South Africa experienced this not too long ago. So it's really important to understand what is going on surrounding water. Um, so I'm a geographer as well. So whenever I see maps, this is something that I go to and gravitate towards. So this is an opportunity for you to make maps, and it really helps to have some geospatial training, because then once you go here, and you can kind of immediately see what are the types of things that you're looking for. So this one, just looking at water, looking at drinking water, what are specific things you can map, just safely managed services, what is the availability, free of contamination. So it's not enough to just have water. That's the point to make. You need access to safe water, and water that is contaminant free. So these are ways that you can kind of select what you want to visualize. And you can kind of zoom in and select something like the national level, and then view selection. And this can get as detailed or granular or as general as you want it to be. And so we've just generated a simple map, which you can then select and kind of change through the years and see what has happened. So this is the proportion of population using an improved drinking water source. So there seems to have been improvement. If the baseline there's not too much improvement needed, then um, that that's um, that's good. The blue countries, there's a lot of improvement, but in the yellow countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, there's actually room to improve here. So that's a quick sort of display of how you can kind of see what the problem is in a specific area, and then match the type of target that you have, corresponding target. And I encourage you to go through charts, tables, data lab, and also read about how to use. So Sustainable Development Goal 6 seeks to ensure safe drinking water and sanitation for all, focusing on the sustainable management of water resources, wastewater and ecosystems, and acknowledging the importance of an enabling environment. So in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, countries have committed to engage in systematic follow-up and review of progress towards the goals and targets using a set of global indicators. And this is where each of the indicators are provided. So these are some interesting stats here. If you look at drinking water, the world's population uses a safely managed drinking water service, 3/4 of the population. But then when you think about sanitation, safely managed sanitation service, only half. And this is alarming. So hygiene, um, it's 70%, but then wastewater, world's domestic wastewater is safely treated. This is only 56%. So just go through these, and this is really interesting. Water stress, 17% of the world's renewable water resources is being withdrawn after taking into account environmental flow. So these are all of the different areas. There's 11 global indicators. Um, so about the global indicators, 6.2 by 2030. So this is about sanitation. Um, so I'm going to start with 6.1 rather than with 6.2. So 6.1 is by 2030 achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. Um, and then number 2, by 2030 achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all and end open defecation, paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situations. Number 3, by 2030, achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene. Um, and that was a repetition of the second one. So, number 3 is by 2030, improve water quality by reducing pollution, eliminating dumping, and minimizing release of hazardous chemicals and materials, having halving the proportion of untreated wastewater, and substantially increasing recycling and safe reuse globally. So, wastewater treatment is extremely important. But not only that, understanding um, understanding water use efficiency is also important. That's goal number 4. So by 2030, substantially increase water use efficiency across all sectors and ensure sustainable withdrawals and supply of fresh water to address water scarcity and substantially reduce the number of people suffering from water scarcity. So this shows how water scarcity not only is an important problem, but with efficiency and strategy, you can start to address that. So to track progress, the change in water use efficiency over time, this is what is tracked and measured as the ratio of dollar value added to the volume of water used. So looking at 6.5, by 2030, implement integrated water resources management at all levels, including through transboundary cooperation as appropriate. So this management is something called IWRM implementation, Integrated Water Resources Management Implementation. It actually has 4 dimensions, 4 key dimensions, which is an enabling environment, institutions and participation, management instruments, and financing. Um, so just looking at, and you can look at 5.6.5.2 on your own. But then 6.6 is looking at water related ecosystems. So by 2020 or 2030, protect and restore water-related ecosystems, including mountains, forests, wetlands, rivers, aquifers, and lakes. So this shows that any sort of ecosystem, they're all connected. So when you have contamination on one water-related ecosystem, this kind of goes into other systems, um, and so this is something important to note. And tracking changes over time in water-related ecosystems such as lakes, rivers, wetlands, and mangroves. This helps. And then also tracking um, the amount of water and sanitation. Uh, so, I just went over. Let me preface this by this. I just went over the six uh, targets. Now I'll go through the means to achieve targets. So number one for means to achieve targets is that by 2030, expand international cooperation and capacity building support to developing countries in water and sanitation related activities and programs, including water harvesting, desalination, water efficiency, wastewater treatment, recycling, and reuse technologies. So to track something like this, the water and sanitation related official development assistance is needed. And that is included in a government coordinated spending plan. So uh, next is community participation. So we went over international cooperation, and these efforts need to be on an international scale. But then we have to look in a community level. So first, macro. Now we're going in through the community. And supporting and strengthening the participation of local communities in improving water and sanitation management is equally as important as using some of these systems on a broad scale, on a global level. So this one is monitored through participation of local communities in water and sanitation management within a country. So laws, policies, regulations are surrounding that participation, whereas here there's international cooperation. So looking at each other, kind of contrasting each other in terms of one another, can help in explaining some of this. And then last but not least, it means to target it, and usually there is a third one, but here I think that we have two means to achieve targets. So this is a bit different than Sustainable Development Goal number 5 or the preceding ones. So that sums up not only the magnitude of what faces us as a global population, but also this sums up how we can better address these challenges. Look, we are all grappling with inequities in terms of access to resources. But in some parts of the world, as we looked at that map initially, this is experienced much more in different ways. So it's important to go in to communities, even within the United States, and look for places where we have infrastructure which does not support proper drinking water and maintenance of drinking water, whether it's through lead that's been contaminated or whether it's through pollutants or bacteria. It's important to maintain our water system and the proper health of our water system. So, with more awareness, if we can take some of these SDGs and even apply them domestically, um, we can really go a long way. Thank you for listening.